if I'm personally happy with our creation, if other people don't get it, I still did my best, and we did our best as a band. And I think that's been, on all of our things over the years, running theme, where if we focus on that rather than trying to create success, then we're trying to do the right thing.
How are you, gentlemen?
Slightly nervous because this is a big deal for us. We don't do things like this often.
Yeah, no, I know. Which makes it a big deal for me. So let's be nervous together. How about that? Should we ride
Sounds
that?
good.
Should we ride that wave of anxiety? Bigger Than All of Us. What a beautiful album title. Very deliberate. Says a lot. We're going to dive into the meaning behind it all. But where were you when the title came to you?
I think it came because of the track we wrote with Justine, really, didn't it? And then that just felt like the right track to title the album. So it often happens with Above and Beyond albums. We kind of make up the reasons a little bit afterwards as well.
I think that happens in life. I think we were looking for I did that for that reason, obviously. It's one of those statements, sentences, phrases that can go a lot of different ways, right? I mean, it can be used in a sense of like a positive, a wonderful experience and something immersive that it brings quality. It can also be something that's used to try to comfort somebody, when they're going through something. Man, it's just bigger than all of us, like let's just don't make it about you. It's just bigger than all of us. Did that strike you? Did that strike you as the fact that it feels very adaptable to the human experience?
I think it's one of those titles that can be interpreted. I think the song itself paints a world where we're all interconnected and everything we do affects everybody else. I think for us the other main interpretation of the title was the community that we've created.
Yes.
I think we've always been consumer focused, if that's the word, or fan focused, right from the start when we had a forum that we ran that became the biggest trance forum in dance music. We've always been talking to our fans and getting their feedback about what we're doing. And so I think where we are now with the size of that audience, the Anjuna family, as we call it, being so big, I think the whole endeavor feels bigger than all of us because of the community.
Can we do a timeline check for the people that aren't so up to date with the entire history of the band? When you launched the forum, the very inception of building that fan base on day one, approximately what time frame was that?
Well, I think it was around year 2000, 2001 when we were starting up. We're actually just celebrating our 25th
anniversary. Yeah. You've been married to all these people for 25 years.
Crazy, right?
It's pretty incredible when you think about it. I think about these kind of fan forums and the fact that when they first started out, I think the record industry looked at them as like, oh, look, that's an artist it's got to go direct to fan because they don't fit into the system, whatever. I remember the feeling surrounding this. And now, of course, you take a look at the artists that have been building these fan bases over periods of time, building your industry around that relationship. And boy, isn't it funny how it's working out just fine. So, but I wonder whether it was initially a reaction to something, whether the idea of leaning into that experience and making it more bespoke, making it more about your relationship with your fans and doubling down on that was a reaction to something, or did you react as it started to happen?
I think it was actually, again, partly an accident. It was partly intentional and partly accident because we tried to court sort of major labels and sign tracks, and we did a bit of that. And what would often happen is, you'd make this record they'd really like, and then the follow-up single would come, and maybe it wasn't as radio.
Boom! There it is. You just proved the point exactly, and that's exactly what I'm saying, right? They would say like, "Oh, you don't fit into our system."
Yeah, exactly.
So good luck.
And it was a survival thing in the end. It was, which is the accident side of it, where building the community online really helped us because we were able to sort of communicate directly with our fans and give our music directly to them rather than go through these big corporate mechanisms. So yeah.
Plus, I worked at Warner's for 12 years. I did that thing. We anxiously waiting for the playlist decisions every week and seeing some kids who spent a year making an album, making a video, spending all their unrecouped money on the project, and then 3 days into the week of release, not on the playlist, end of career, go back to working in Sainsbury's. And that's the last thing I wanted to do when I left Warner's to be a musician. I thought, I don't really want to get into that system. That system doesn't really suit musicians. It suits record companies, because they've got plenty of fodder they can put into the cannon and
Yes.
fire at
Next.
this tiny hole that was
Next.
Radio 1 playlist.
Right.
And then the next one comes along. So it was the thirst of artists that enabled the system, but I didn't want to be one of the ones that slightly missed and hit the floor. I wanted to be here in 25 years.
What a beautiful case study that time at Warner's was for you. Right? I mean, a little bit of money in the bank to be able to launch what you want to go launch, and more importantly, a whole lot of wisdom
Yeah.
in the mind bank to know that you don't want to do that. So this begins the Anjuna, the era of building your own world. And to your point, it's a wonderful symbiosis between fans and art. And don't get me wrong, we're going to catch up really fast to get to bigger than all of us. But I think for the importance of people who love your music but don't know, because you don't do a lot of this, what are the primary principles that you've stayed true to from day one when building your own world?
I think from the very beginning of our band, we've always been a little bit bigger than the band because we started a record label even before we started the band. So our label Anjunabeats has been there as a sort of real center of our community. And it was always really much easier for us to like think of how cool the label is rather than like look at us. And I think that's actually been a really wonderful thing.
You put all your merch creativity into the label at the beginning, right? To make sure the jacket was cool. And then it's like, look, the people wearing the jacket will get there.
Yeah.
The jacket's got to be cool.
It was always phase two. I mean, I don't know if at the beginning I was wondering whether we'd ever put ourselves on our merch. It just felt, the label felt like a really important part of the strategy to help blokes get on board with what we were doing. And the minute we started seeing blokes tattooing our logo to their body, we knew we'd done a good job.
Yeah. Fascinating. It's one of those things, though, isn't it? Kind of leaning into an industry, even if it's yours to run, and building it out of your own experiences and your own heart and soul and what you believe in, whilst you're also sort of figuring out that, hey, what we do creatively is now starting to make a difference and become a priority in our life. And we have touring and, okay, we can get away from Warner's, but we're still part of a machine. It's now just the above and beyond machine. So that balance, I think one often suffers. I don't think of too many artist-orientated labels where it's been a perfect balance between the two. You're one of those groups that I think does strike that balance. What's the secret between maintaining a healthy Anjuna world and a healthy above and beyond experience?
I think one of the things that makes it easier for us is the fact there's three of us. Because I think if you've got just one person, I mean, it can be absolutely exhausting. It's exhausting with three people as well.
Yeah.
But, being on tour, we've managed to tour as twos. So we get a bit of time off the road as well as on the road. Yeah. And that is a simple thing that's really helped us because it means you're very grounded and you come home and you've got two other egos to keep the ego in check as well. There's many parts to that, I think, that help.
Let's talk about the idea of ego as we get closer to this album. Tony, what was the feeling like when work on the album started in earnest and did it feel like the machine was starting back up again a bit?
It did, because we all had time away from it, doing solo projects and being away during lockdown when, of course, we couldn't get together and we couldn't do shows. So our world really, really changed over those years. And I can distinctly remember us having lunch with our manager, James, and him saying, are we going to do another album?
Big question for James. By the way, I can tell you right now, and I'm sure James is a real one, right? Runs a real business.
Yeah.
I bet his heart's in his mouth even asking that question.
Yeah. I mean, it's
gotta
just,
be.
It felt like we should do one, but I think that would have been 5 years since the time before. So it was a long time.
Spell had been broken, right?
Yeah. And we needed to figure out how we were going to work together because during lockdown, Parvo moved out of the UK. So we were this kind of international group with learning a different way of working with somebody that's not in the UK all the time. So the first thing we did, not the first thing we did, but one of the first things we did to help the process, given the newness of the arrangement of Above and Beyond, was hire an external A&R man, Dave Dresden from Gabriel and Dresden, to be the point person, to be the person making the difficult decisions for us.
Wow, almost like a performance coach.
Exactly.
Amazing.
And we all trusted him. He used to do A&R for London Records, for Pete Tong. Yeah. He's been around the block. He's a brilliant DJ. His knowledge of music is inexhaustible. Plus, he's American, so he's positive.
By the way, what a gig! What a gig for this guy to get. What a phone call. Hey, man, we'd love you to help us carve out the next 0.0 of this amazing thing you're passionate about, and you get to be honest with us, and you get to be tasteful. Fucking gig.
He did it great.
Yeah, he was amazing.
As he should.
He did it great. And what was also great about it is with him, I think he took a lot of the ego out of it, and we discovered that actually we had a lot of the records. We already had a lot of the music. He was like, that's a great song. That's a great song. And I think these songs were knocking around for a few years. We hadn't done anything with them, and they were sort of bubbling there, and no one wanted to speak out. And, you know, so
That's beautiful because it takes away a little bit of the pressure of like, okay, where do we start? Right? Which I can imagine when you've been away for a while. Look, I mean, there will be that moment again for real. Like these songs, there you go, you got an album out of it with some new ones attached, I'm sure. But, you know, but now it's going to be like, okay, when we come back now, we've got to start somewhere, but you're back in that, surely back in that mindset of what being a band is again.
And there's some accountability as well, because I think the downside of having your own record label management and kind of, James always calls it an internal 360 model sort of thing. But the downside of that is, where's the accountability? Because you're all so close to each other. You need someone external to sort of crack the whip and say, hey, you know. And also Molly in the office sort of formed a great team that kept us accountable with sort of meetings, which is kind of weird because, yeah, I'm personally not used to that kind of structure all the time. I think you are more used to it, Tony, aren't you?
I don't mind it. I think it was it felt like we were having too many meetings, like not enough. You know, if you do a weekly meeting when you're making music, sometimes nothing's happening.
No, fuck all's happening. And by the way, congratulations. You know, you just businessed the shit out of yourselves. Well done.
But it actually worked.
Yeah.
We got used to the weekly meetings. We got used to them being a way of us keeping on track. And in the end, I think that when you make an album as a three-piece, the hardest thing is deciding what tracks go on the album.
Oh, I'm sure it's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare because all three of us are able to create tracks on our own. These two do it more than I do, but there is still this weight of work there at the end and not enough room for it to fit on, and which ones are going to go on. That's a source of enormous stress.
The work of serving at the altar of the music is one of the hardest things you can do, isn't it? You know, at the end of the day, and it's really where the ego goes, I'm not done with you.
Yeah.
You know, you think that, you know, you've grown up enough and had enough success that you don't need me as firepower, but guess what? That fucking song's going on the album, isn't it? It is. Tell them right now it's going on the album. It's a tough one. It's a really tough one.
But it was great because Dave kind of did. I think we sent him originally about 45 tracks, ideas.
Yep.
And I think probably of those, about 12 ended up on the album. The rest of them were all new creations. But it was always pretty clear that he was going to decide what was going to go on. And that made it a lot easier. We bought into his view, and that took that whole stress away. And, you know, okay, I've got these 5 tracks to work on. And that's
And it's a
what I need to
success.
do.
It worked. So he's fired now, isn't he? You got rid of him. Of course.
Watch this space.
It's beautiful hearing you connect with some of these writers and these performers that we know you have established relationships with. I think when we have people who produce and DJ and create art and are artists in their own right, but obviously lean into a vocal space with others, people see it as an opportunity. Well, this new person's got some momentum, so this would be a good opportunity for us to work with them. We'll pull our audiences together. You know, it's fine. It's totally cool. It's a play. But what's really nice is that you've got these existing relationships. You can hear a lot of heart and soul going into the performances. It's like a, you know, but there's a question here. I want to talk about the kind of vocalists you choose to work with. There's a prevailing purity in vocal performance that I think you're really drawn to, a sense of searching for real enunciation, an idea of purity is the word I'm looking for. Does that ring true to you?
Well, I think really, if I think about our songs over the years, it's always been very rooted in reality and life. And I've been really inspired by the honesty of the people, Justine, Tony, Zoe, who've really put so much of their own story into the songs. And I think now, having written songs with these people for such a long time, it's also really awesome to understand how those songs are almost like a little time capsule of what was going on in our lives at the time. And a lot of life has happened in 25 years, and a lot of those songs are really marking some really important times in our lives.
Yeah. How is it recording vocalists for you? Making music is one thing, but then sitting there and working with Richard, for instance, who, when Richard shows up on this album for the first time, it's a broken performance. It rises when the intensity of the music comes along, but it's a very honest beginning, isn't it? Vocally, it's by no means perfect in a great way.
I had the idea. There's enough of you and me to start a fire for some time. That was around, and the piece of music that Parvo had written years ago, it was resting on for about 2 years, I think. And then I was at the Gorge. We do a big event at the Gorge every now and again. It's an extraordinary venue in Washington, and the verse started coming to me, and I had been listening a lot to Dire Straits, and there's a kind of conversational nature the way that he sings the song, and that's the way that song came together. The verse is pretty much Mark Knopfler singing, and so it
makes total sense to me now.
So it starts in that sort of darkish sort of quiet place, but I think for writing for Above and Beyond, you've got to end up there. It's got to, there has to be that moment, and so the smaller you can start, the better that difference is. If you're going from really small and really humble to that, you've gone a long way, and that's how you get people to cry.
Yeah, but and there it is, everybody. That is the whole point. If you are wondering why we're here, it's to make us cry. I love it. It's true. I mean, we go searching for these emotions in music. That's the whole point. It's a choice. I go to your music for a reason. I love a hard shift. I fucking love Nirvana. I love a quiet bit and a loud bit. Drop it on my head all day. But I love the way that you got that as a band, you will somehow find a way to get there. And I'm not even quite sure I was on the journey. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's true, even in a DJ set, isn't it? Because a lot of the time, I sense I've seen people afraid to go really small. But you've got to go big to go small,
especially at the start. That's how you know a DJ is really a real one. When they go off the peak of someone's set and they start really little.
Yeah, it's kind of brave, isn't it, to do that? And
it is.
But it's scary. It's much easier to kind of go in with a bang, but actually, where can you go from there? Yeah,
and I think we've always been very much about contrast, like emotional contrast in songwriting, the arrangements of songs, and also our show, how we're visually trying to play with contrast as much as we can. And I think that really is very above and beyond. I think the really focusing on increasing contrast in all ways.
And even when it comes, go on, sorry.
I mean, these two guys write extraordinary music, and we've been, ever since we started, when we were doing remixes, taking an existing song and putting that lift in it, maybe where it wasn't there before.
Yeah, giving it the above and beyond treatment.
And that's down to the music that these two guys write. They're too humble to admit it, but that's where that comes from 95% of the time. Well, it's not a volume thing, it's a chordal thing.
Yeah, no, it speaks to me in a lot of different types of music that I listen to that you seem to somehow are able to make an above and beyond experience. I think about some of my favorite piano players in the modern age who really just touch the keyboard in a very light way, and I don't know how they choose those notes. There's only 3 of them, and yet they got me, right? It's very much you. I think about modern classical ambient space, like Dustin and Winged Victory for the Sullen, and these beautiful, beautiful groups that just, to me, are as heavy as Deftones. But it's ambient music, and that's above and beyond. It's like it all rolls into this overarching experience. And so, how do you know when it's done?
That's a difficult question to answer. It's never done. I mean, I think I listen to old tracks we've done, and I think, I wish I'd done something differently, or I think you just got to let go of it at some point. And
you all feel that way, or is it just Jono?
I think it's mostly Jono.
Yeah. No, but you know what? It's funny because it's true. In every band I've almost ever interviewed, where there's multiple people all invested in equal measure into an end result, that one person seems to always have a harder time letting go than the others. It's true. It's true. It's me. It's true. It's true. So you can't really listen to the music at the end of the day?
Once it's made, I kind of move on. But in that,
so you go on stage at the Gorge, and then I'm right back in it again.
Well, actually, Tony and I listened through to. It was long enough. You see, we listened to Tri-State, and that was great. It was great listening to our first album, and then seeing what made that tick, and that we kind of tried to bring that into Bigger Than All of Us a bit.
How?
Well, we were talking about dynamics and chords and things. I mean, for me, when what's also important is looking at that on many levels. So just in terms of which tracks you have on the album, if you've got simply, if you've got 9 vocal tracks, maybe you need a couple of instrumentals. That's kind of basic way of putting it. But with Tri-State, when we made that album, I just distinctly remember, and this might sound a bit grandiose, but we were trying to make something that was timeless. We're very conscious of the fact that let's not just try and take a shortcut and kind of make it really full on. Let's try and make something that you'd want to listen to in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
And that approach, we tried to sort of get back into this album, I think.
Well, to me, it makes a little sense having talked to artists for a long time, because your first album, if you care, if you really care, and you're not just in a hurry, if you really care, yeah, of course, you want that to be that. You want people to be able to refer back to where you began and be proud of the beginning of the journey as much as you are later down the line. Makes sense on this one too, because it probably does feel a little bit like a fresh start, does it not?
It does.
Yeah,
definitely.
Really
after 6 years as well, I think it is, since Common Ground. It's a long time, a long time, and we had COVID in the middle, and like Tony said, solo projects and stuff, and so getting back into that took some time as well.
If it wasn't for COVID, and I'm glad we're talking about COVID, because for at least a year or two, none of us really wanted to even utter it and mention it. We were like done with it. Like, it never happened. It did. And it affected the whole world, and everybody went through something. I'm focused on the arts, and so I'm zeroed in on that conversation. And so do you think you would have stopped if it hadn't been for COVID? Would you have continued, or with a decision already been made that you were going to have to separate and go and do your own thing for a bit?
We were just about to do Acoustic 3.
Looking back on it now, did you need a break of being a band? Active band.
I certainly felt like it. I was obviously still on the recovery. I had a burnout on the last album. And I had a really tough time with COVID. At the time, things felt horrible, but actually now looking back at all the struggle and all the sort of learning, the good that's come from the struggle, I actually sort of think like maybe it was kind of good that all of these things happened. Maybe that's why we have an album now, because we've all done a lot of growing in the past 5 years.
Not to drag you through it, but I'm fascinated about people who come through the other side of things like that and realize that there's life to live and there's a lot to be grateful for. And so when you think back about where you were when things got tough, are you any clearer to understanding kind of where the puzzle got mixed up for you?
Well, I think I probably lost myself in the busy touring life and everything, and eventually I just couldn't handle it myself. So now I think I'm sort of re-entering everything with a new angle. And
how does it feel? How does it look to you coming back?
It's actually really exciting. Like, we were just on stage in Ultra in Miami, and
that's fucking backhanded, isn't it? My God.
And the feeling at the show was so incredible that it was almost a bit scary. It's like, oh my God!
I haven't driven a car for a while, but I'm going to get behind one for the Indy 500 if that's okay, and just have a crack at it. Does it feel good to you? That's awesome, though. I'm really glad to hear that. But I mean, it doesn't surprise me, and I've talked to artists about this. I was DJing a lot. Probably on the same festival bill for, here and there, just much smaller tents. But I was doing a lot of DJ touring for sort of 10 years back and forth, doing, a lot of the dance music circuit. And I was tired, and I was watching my friends just fucking burn rubber. And it scared me. And I would say to some of my friends who were doing 300 shows a year, when I'd see them, I'd be like, you got to stop. Like, I'm fine. It's like, no, you're not fucking fine, man.
That's the thing, isn't it? You don't know what everyone else is going through. You just don't know.
The adrenaline is a crazy thing. And when you throw yourself in front of 50,000 people 5 days a week, and then your manager's like, congratulations, you just made $3 million. And you're like, fuck, what could go wrong? And then it goes wrong really quickly. And I think that lifestyle is, I like to talk about it with people who've been through the other side of it, because we've lost good people. Truthfully, I think. Yeah. It hasn't helped some people who didn't make it out. Yeah. And it's a fucking crazy thing, right?
It is. And I do think, I mean, to throw in the word toxic, there's toxicity to it in the sense that there's a respect put on artists who can do these crazy schedules. And do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's almost like you did it, bro. Look at you, bro. You're amazing.
Like, I did 300 gigs this year.
Woo! Like, what?
Is that a good thing, really?
I
don't know.
Yeah. It's certainly not good for making music.
No, not at all. Because I find It's like working out at the gym. If you don't use the muscle of working the studio, it goes. You know, once you get into a rhythm of being in the studio for 5 days a week, you really get into it again. But if I'm DJing all the time and on the road, I lose it. You know, it takes time.
That being said, were there moments before you guys took a break, and in particular, you know, in the lead up to that sort of album and that tour, where you look back on it now and you're like, oh, we were bought in, like we liked the feeling we got from the success we were having, because you have been a very, very successful band.
I think we've all had moments where the touring got too much, and you know, we've had to back out, or at the time when you're doing it, like you said, the adrenaline will keep you going, however much sleep you've had. Once you get in front of 10, 20,000 people,
you're on.
You're on. Everything feels great, but then it's the long-term effect that the sleep deprivation has on your mental health, and it's hit all three of us in different ways, and I think the rate at which we pursue the touring goal in the future will be different because of that.
Well, that slows things down too, because when you get to put a lot of creativity into something, it's not just another show after another show, a gig after a gig. It slows down the pace of it and allows you to immerse yourself more than if you're just going from like one slot to another, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think the cool thing here is, like, as I'm kind of coming back, I've realized there's so many things that I love doing and I'm so excited to do. And now, you know, creating the new show for us for the Bigger Than All of Us tour has been already just so exciting to see it come from a 3D sculpt into like an actual humongous thing on the Coachella stage.
Which is mind-blowing. And when you think about, like, you know, what you get to create now to support your music and make an experience for people. I'll talk about that in a second. I got one more question on the experience for you, which is what I noticed when I had stopped for a while and then I went back out was how loud everything is. Were you just like, whoa, this is really loud? Like, you know, the noise of the crowd and the noise of everything. Like when you break out of it for a while, it's loud, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. I can remember the first gig that we did after COVID, and it had been so long since I'd done a gig, I needed glasses on stage. And I'd always worn glasses, but clear glasses, just as a prop.
Yeah.
But I actually needed glasses to read the decks.
Everybody else is a DJ is like, I'm not aging myself out with glasses, mate. If I play the wrong fucking song, I'm playing the wrong fucking song. You were wearing pretend glasses.
I was wearing pretend glasses. So I took off my pretend glasses and put my reading glasses on so I could do the mix. But then everybody was blurry. So obviously I needed to go the bifocal thing in the future. But that was just a bit of a shock. But I've been doing gigs from my kitchen table all through lockdown wearing glasses, and my eyes had got weaker.
No, mate, your eyes got weaker because we're old. Okay, let's just accept it for what it is. I can say that for all of us at a varying degree.
I'm next. And
I'm with you. Okay, well, I'm standing right next to you. Okay,
Right.
so we can talk about that with pure honesty. It's so funny to me. That's my dream. I wish that I had been wearing non-bifocal glasses when I was DJing, because staring at the crowd used to terrify the shit out of me. I just would be able to focus on my records and be like, I see you. I don't see shit. Yeah, the new stage show is incredible, and you know the reviews from Coachella were out of control, and everyone was so happy to have you back. And so let's just talk about you know, another part of the above and beyond experience for us, which is the level of commitment required to bring the music and make it feel immersive and make it feel like an event. It sounds like it when you put it on, and then you go to an above and beyond show, and it's clear for everyone there that you've put in a lot of effort to bring it to life. So we're going to get to the magic of that, but let's just start with the effort, right? The financial commitment required. You know, you would make a huge commitment to these shows. You don't cut corners, right? It's always been that way. What drives that desire to put fans first, even before bottom line, which is not common in the record industry?
I think we think that our existing fans are the way that we're going to get new fans. So making our existing fans excited is the way that we're going to grow. So we put everything we can into servicing, if that's the word. It seems rather clinical to say it that way, but servicing our fan base to give them what they want so they go, wow.
You really are a word of mouth industry, aren't you? I mean, the whole thing started with a forum that was just a word of mouth.
Mm.
And it may not happen as quickly as a label can make it happen for you, but it lasts a lot longer, doesn't it?
And Tony, what Tony's articulated there about servicing existing fans, I think it's often tempting to try and, smash a radio hit out or something, this sort of strategy. But Tony's always kept us on course to sort of like what he's just said, really, making music and shows, just servicing our fans rather than looking over there. What are they doing? Do you know what I mean?
Is it fair to say that Tony is to some degree the punk rock conscience of the group in that regard?
I think so. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Right.
I don't know if it's fair to say it. I think I got burned, not burned personally, but I experienced people getting burned by the major label system, by pop music per se. And it was something that I really didn't want to experience myself, that short-lived burst of activity and then the descending glitter. I think the whole point of Above and Beyond is that we've become something that has a fan base. We take liberties with that fan base. Acoustic was something that I don't know where that fits in a major label's plan for a pop act to do that. But it made perfect sense for us. It made our existing fans really excited because they could bring their mum and dad. So suddenly now things are getting bigger. So it makes sense for us for the way that we're doing things. And I think we have experimented with pluggers and pop music and playlists, and it played out exactly as you might expect. The record that wasn't going to go on the playlist that we released before the album came out as a kind of a sort of throw into the fans, just to show that we've not gone mad before we release some pop records, went on the radio and became our biggest radio hit and won a Grammy nomination.
And again, this is servicing the fans. You create bodies of art that aren't just above and beyond albums. You give us meditations, healings. You bring us closer to nature. You create things that ultimately serve a purpose in my day-to-day life that aren't just about listening to a great song or a great piece of music. So what has always been the inspiration behind that, behind evolving this through Anjuna and through Above and Beyond and the whole thing into like a very sort of immersive experience beyond just albums?
I think we've always been almost a little selfish that we've been writing music for ourselves. And I guess that's where the whole group therapy name came from originally, when, we are doing this, with the primary focus of us being happy with what we do. And then like with this album as well, I thought, if I'm personally happy with our creation, if other people don't get it, I still did my best, and we did our best as a band. And I think that's been, on all of our things over the years, running theme, where if we focus on that rather than trying to create success, then we're trying to do the right thing.
Who inspires you? You inspire so many people. I mean, who are some of the musicians, perhaps historically, but also if there's people around now that you would consider to be, a peer group of sorts?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's stuff from the 80s and 90s that I grew up with. That's kind of locked in. I don't take inspiration from stuff that's around me so much.
Like who?
Maybe production and stuff from modern music, but just so I grew up with a kind of mix of music that my parents listened to and then stuff that I found. So a lot of, Pet Shop Boys, New Order, Depeche Mode, all of that kind of stuff. But then also my parents listened to Pink Floyd, even Steely Dan and stuff like that.
There's no even before Steely Dan.
But
so
Jean-Michel Jarre,
yeah,
who we got to remix, that was a really, really special moment, actually. But then I got into dance music because I heard Paul Oakenfold's Go Mix on Radio 1. And I had it on cassette and I just kept listening to it. And before that, I didn't actually like dance music, really. But that converted me. And then, the rest is history in terms of getting into dance music,
Yeah. What about you, Pablo?
Well, I spent pretty much, the time after COVID getting back into dance music. So I went clubbing. I hadn't really even felt like going clubbing because we've been playing so many shows. So for me, actually, I felt like I started again falling in love with the whole clubbing culture and the the feeling of being on the dance floor with people.
And what is that feeling like for you?
I think I grew up always kind of feeling like I didn't kind of fit in. I was a little bit weird or something. And then when I went to a club when I was 15, I immediately felt like, okay, this is my place. You know, these are my people. You know?
This is the great irony about the clubbing experience in modern life, how people queue up to just to try and be a part of something that's cool, is that it all started because people didn't feel safe. They had to go somewhere to find a community because it wasn't safe on the streets. They had to go somewhere to dance and dance it off and get rid of it, right? It's become this thing like, oh, we've got to get in the club. It's like, no, people had to go to the club. That's the only place they could go, you know?
And I've also like spent quite a lot of time in the Caribbean, and I've seen how, for example, the Mardi Gras type music is four to the floor, high energy dance music. And that was a really inspirational moment for me, just to realize the connection of what we do and how it's connected to live dance music, and how dance music is much bigger than the electronic dance music that we think about. And there's so many awesome dance music styles around the world that are done live. And that's been a really big thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same experience. I went to Mali once, and I saw people doing the same thing, and I was like, oh, this is the best four on the floor music I've ever heard in my life. It was just so much like rhythm to it. And for a band that really have so much curiosity, I feel, when it comes to putting sounds and feelings and the world into your music, you know, I can imagine that will continue to inform what you do going forward as well. Because if that unlocks something new for you, where it's like, hey, it's not just what goes on in our room, I'm hearing it all over the world.
Yeah. And it's an important thing for people. I mean, it's always been an important function for how people meet other people, how people feel more connected. And I think that's kind of what we are trying to do too.
Tony, what inspires you creatively, musically?
I love music. I love singer-songwriters like Lizzie McAlpine and numerous others I can't mention now. I like bands like The National and REM. I think probably over the years REM have inspired me more than any other single band, because I think they took the mantle of rock superstars and wore it more gracefully than anybody's done.
So, you made a really important statement about 10, 15 minutes ago. We were talking a little bit about the burnout that comes from kind of chasing the success that's presented to you and not wanting to let it go. And you said, you know, what I got from that, Tony, was that like we don't need to play that game anymore. Like, we know who we are. We know what we are as a band. We know our audience is here and growing every time. So let's talk a little bit about what the balance is for Above and Beyond today versus before. Touring, the work that goes into bringing this to life. What does life look like for the band now you're back together with with real glasses on?
With real glasses on. Well, I mean, it's the same as it's ever been. It's a mixture of production and touring. We're just trying to make the touring more livable and more survivable than we did it in the past. But I think because we've got a bigger show now and there are buses and trucks involved, it moves at a slower pace. That's a thing I think that the DJ had that touring bands never had, which is, you know, no body weight, basically. You put that person on a plane, they can be in Tokyo tonight.
So we're talking about
Washington tomorrow night.
That's right.
You know, but
Slows it down.
if there's a big amount of machinery and other people and tour buses and everything else, it moves slowly. And I think that's our next tour is going to be 16 amphitheaters with trucks and buses. We'll do some stuff in between in clubs in little towns as we pass through, but the most of it will go at the speed that a tour bus can go, which is more survivable.
And with amphitheaters, the set times are earlier as well.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's wonderful. Yeah, I like my sleep too much.
Same. It's one of my favorite things about the modern discourse amongst artists now, is that we've all finally accepted that we can admit that we all want to be at dinner by 9.
We put on a better show as well.
Jono, can I ask a question? Are we any closer to working out which Muppet decided that 9 p.m. was the right time for anyone to go on stage? Someone made that decision and it's stuck. Why not 7? Why not be done by 9:30? You fucking Nobu by 10. Fucking late table. Love it. What is? I think I know the answer to this question, but I think it's important for all of us that we hear from you. That what is success to Above and Beyond now? I mean, you know, you've become by any metric of value successful, very successful. You have a very passionate fan base. You've built a beautiful life for yourself doing this. You get paid well to go and do great shows, and you invested it the right way. But what is success to you three now that you've come back and rekindled this album making machine and are back as above and beyond a group?
For me, it's quite simple. It's the same as what Paavo said a bit ago about, making music that we're happy with. That's kind of enough. And then you can't control all the other bits. So hopefully people like it.
Says the guy who's never happy. Can't listen to his own music.
Well, there you go. No.
What about you, Paavo? Tony, what do you think?
I think, if I think of what's the most beautiful thing that we do, it's how we help people connect with other people. So for me, the success is like defined, like if people come to the shows and make new connections and everything, that's real success in a way, because that's bigger than all of us,
Oh, well done. I'd imagine that is a very forthcoming experience that people love to tell you about the way that their lives have changed, either at a show or at the music. When you hear the music, I want to tell you, oh my God, it changed everything. So can we create a little bit of a hall of fame for some of the great things that have happened in people's lives, or moving things that the music has or the band have impacted?
I mean, I've heard a few times, I wouldn't pick out a single story, but people who've gone through cancer and they've said that, our music's helped them through it. And what can you say to that? I mean, what I say is, you would have found something, and I'm really touched that you found our music, but it's just, I mean, just like Paavo said, when you can be part of someone else's life in that way, it's moving. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, there's not. I mean, it is to sit in that.
It's humbling. It's humbling.
It is. Yeah, it's very humbling.
Yeah. Anyone getting married? A lot of people getting married.
Yeah, they've done it to Good For Me, one of our songs.
A lot of people.
Some people go down the aisle to Sun and Moon, which is a breakup song, but it seems to work somehow.
Not the first time that's happened.
It's a bit like Every Breath You Take, isn't it?
There's a few of those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is what it is to whoever it needs to belong to.
And so it should be that way,
Yeah, what an exercise in letting go. That's really what this is all about, isn't it? I mean, when you started this whole thing, you let go of any expectations that any label or anyone was going to do anything for you. And it feels like you've just been finding good and valid reasons to let go ever since.
That's a really nice thing to say. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for taking some time to talk with me. What a joy. Shit. The world's biggest cult band. That's what they call you. That's what they call you. It's fucking hilarious. They just won't give you your fucking flowers, mate. You're a stadium band.